Look, I love roller coasters. Well, hopefully I do, considering this YouTube channel and all. But there are some things about coasters that drive me, and you as well, I'm assuming, absolutely insane. So buckle up and prepare for a furious rant about the 10 most annoying and rage inducing things about roller coasters. Let's go. Just a quick honorable mention here before we get into the top 10. Richard Zimmerman closing one of your favorite roller coasters without notice, then blowing it up with a smile on his face, then promoting an earth-shattering, record-breaking coaster that will replace it in 2026, knowing full well there's no chance of that actually happening. And not just that, he removes 200 other rides from the same park, and now what was once the best legacy Six Flags park is a ghost town in the apocalypse. Well, you reap what you sow, buddy. Looks like our old pal Zimmy is on his way out as CEO of Six Flags. Good riddance. Looks like his final Zim job was on himself here. Let's just hope the next one isn't worse, because it can always get worse. Long live the king. Alright, number 10. Finding out your home park is getting a new roller coaster, but then you find out it's a B&M dive coaster. I feel like we're seeing these pop up all over the place now, and my question is, why? I mean, I guess I already know the reason. While B&M isn't currently producing the highest quality of coasters, they are very reliable and the general public doesn't care or seem to notice how shaky and claustrophobic they are. I guess that's their main selling point these days, because it's certainly not ride quality. It seems a lot of parks would rather just go this route rather than run the risk of having an unreliable ride plagued by maintenance issues. And as a business model, that does make a lot of sense. These rides are just so gimmicky and overall just not that great, in my opinion. But the general public seems to love them and eat it up, and that's who these parks are marketing towards anyway. All right, moving on to number 9. Overhyped coasters. You know when you've been hearing nothing but rave reviews about a coaster, and then you finally get to ride it for yourself and think, what the hell is wrong with everyone? Well, I've got a few rides in this category, but none stick out as much as Orion at Kings Island. Yep, I said it. Now, while I do actually like this roller coaster, how could a Giga coaster be so mid? Definitely one of the most overhyped coasters I've ever been on, and that just left me disappointed, honestly. The first drop is fun, obviously, I'll give it that, but then 2 huge duds of an element right after that. Those 2 massive hills produce absolutely no airtime or forces of any kind, honestly. I definitely didn't want any airtime and wanted the ride to lose all of its speed immediately. Thanks. Why couldn't they just give us regular camelbacks? Those are great for sustained floater airtime. Like, I genuinely cannot believe how big of a difference there is between this and Fury 325 at Carowinds. Both Giga coasters built by B&M, but Fury keeps low to the ground, which allows it to keep its speed for the duration of the ride. And that's what these Giga coasters should be showcasing, their speed. But that was back when B&M built good coasters. And while Orion is technically a long coaster with over 5,300 feet of track, it doesn't feel like it, since half of the layout is basically the brake run. Again, it's a solid ride, but nowhere near the level a Giga coaster should be at. And again, this could be a totally different coaster for you. And we all know that feeling. I guess this one isn't so much hate as it is disappointment. Number 8. Loose article policies. I'm just going to use Cedar Point as an example here. We're all familiar with that park? Good. Okay. So within this park, you have certain coasters like Steel Vengeance and Top Thrill 2, where they will not let you onto the ride with any loose articles. Got to put everything into a locker, which are provided for free, and you even need to go through a metal detector as well. Unfortunately for Top Thrill 2, you have to put your belongings into the locker before you get into the queue. And this thing generates some very, very long lines. So you could potentially be without your phone for hours. Not ideal. Right next door, you have Maverick, which has cubbies in the station that you can just throw all of your stuff into. Simple, easy, but definitely slows down operations. And let's use Millennium Force as a third example. And this is by far the worst. Where everything on you literally has to come onto the ride with you. Keys, wallet, phones, small bags, All totally fine, apparently. I've even shoved water bottles into my pockets, zippered pockets, mind you, so that I could avoid paying $6 for a garbage bottle of Dasani. However, they will not let larger items or bags onto the ride, and they do not offer free lockers here. So you have to get a paid locker outside of the ride queue for all of that. So how do all of these extreme roller coasters within the same park have such different policies? It makes absolutely no sense. Honestly, the best policy is the one on Steel Vengeance. You get to keep your stuff for the majority of the queue, then put them into a free locker right before the metal detectors, and then you have about a 15-minute wait or so until you get to ride. So you won't be without your precious phone for long, and this method immensely speeds up operations. Alright, moving on to number 7. Screaming pterodactyls that come in the form of teenage girls. You know exactly who I'm talking about here. You know, the ones who make a game of shrieking as loud as possible for the entire duration of the ride. How about you scream like a normal friggin' person? You know, on the drops and scary loops or whatever. But don't be a full-on headache that starts on the lift hill and doesn't stop until we're back in the station. It makes me feel like it's World War whatever and I'm standing right next to the air raid siren. Like, chill out, please, for the love of God. We know you're not actually terrified, nobody thinks it's cool or cute, and I'd rather not have tinnitus. Thanks. Moving on to number 6. Trims and mid-course brake runs. These abominations, while sometimes necessary, just absolutely kill the mood and vibe on some coasters. Whether it be the gut punch of a stop on Goliath, or the 17 back-to-back ones on Rip Ride Rocket, whose days are very numbered at this point. R.I.P. old buddy. It was nice knowing you. It just absolutely sucks going from having the time of your life, blazing at Mach 5 speeds, and then that nasty sound and feel of those brakes. And now all of your joy is gone. This even affects some world-class rides like the Voyage, for example. Alright, before everyone starts losing their bananas, this coaster is literally in my top 5. Check real quick. Yep, just had to confirm. So just picture this. You're flying through the woods like Cocaine Bear, just crushing airtime hills, and then bam, invisible stop sign, killing all the speed and adrenaline. I mean, it certainly picks back up again, and I even prefer the second half of the ride compared to the first. But I'm just imagining how this beast runs without those brakes. And yes, I'm aware they run it trimless once a year during Hollywood Nights, but I have not had the privilege yet. How about a little more often? Maybe every Tuesday, and we call it Trimless Tuesdays? I don't know. They do this to save costs on track maintenance, which is understandable or whatever, but come on, just unleash this monster at full power. Also a similar, but very different situation with Maverick at Cedar Point. This set of trims occurs right after its launch going into the second half of the ride, and the park might tell you that they're there for safety reasons, or something along those lines, and that's honestly probably true. There's a good chance this ride would snap your neck if they weren't there because those transitions are already wildly aggressive. But I didn't come to Cedar Point to be safe. I want to suffer. And not in the every coaster in the park is down for maintenance way either. I've already been there and definitely not a fan. All right, moving to the halfway point. Number 5. B&M vest restraints. I'm taking shots at B&M every chance I can get here. If you've been a consistent viewer of this channel, which all of you should be, and I've got great news, by the way. YouTube just fixed the subscribe button, so you should all be able to click it again. Thank goodness for that. But yeah, if you've seen some of our videos, there's a good chance you know I absolutely loathe these straitjackets B&M is trying to disguise as restraints. And there are enough of these coasters out there now, so I feel it warranted a spot on this list. These revolutionary, modern harnesses were supposed to make the ride more comfortable, and in fact, it does the exact opposite. While there isn't any headbanging, I feel like I'm being strangled to death by a python. Hopefully you don't enjoy breathing, because you certainly won't be able to once the ride starts and that vest just gets tighter and tighter on your body. I remember specifically being on the Banshee brake run for what seemed to be an eternity, and thought I was going to pass out because of how restrictive it was on my collarbones and chest. If that ride had the old over-the-shoulder restraints, I'm positive it would be in my top 5 B&M inverts. But as it is, it's definitely towards the bottom. Like, can we get some slack on these restraints, B&M? Like, ask Vekoma how to do it if you don't know how. They make very, very comfortable vest restraints that just feel amazing. Number 4, getting stapled. This applies to basically any coaster that has airtime and lap bars. Tough to enjoy the ride when my thighs are being pounded into flapjacks. Like, there's no reason to push down with the power of Thor directly into my nether regions. All the operator needs to do is just pull up, check that it's locked. The Air Force One crew specifically comes to mind here, as I've never seen them push down once. Airtime galore on every Air Force One ride. Shout out to them. And for some coasters, you will get stapled no matter what, just because of the design of the train and lap bar. If you thought Sky Rush's old restraints were bad on your thighs, go check out Thunderbolt at Coney Island. My God. Number 3, one train operations / slow dispatches. Now, sometimes there is only one train available because the other one needs work done, or maybe that ride literally only has one train. Fine. But sometimes you know damn well that the train sitting on the transfer track has nothing wrong with it, and the park just chooses to run one train to save costs on track maintenance. And this is usually fine if it's a smaller park and an off-peak day where lines aren't going to get crazy long. But pulling this kind of stunt on a crowded summer weekend is just extremely frustrating. I'm adding slow dispatches here as well because I feel like it fits in. But sometimes there will be 2 trains on the track. But if you're averaging 7-minute dispatches, what's the point? There have been times where I've seen a train complete its run around the layout and is sitting on the final brake run, and the air gates to board the previous train have not even opened yet. The most recent case being the wild one on our Six Flags America trip this summer. Operations were something else that day, let me tell you. Great ride, though. Too bad it's closing forever. Number 2, the ride breaking down when you are in line. We've all been there. So just picture this. You've been waiting for Professor Screamore's Sidewinder for over an hour. Very, very popular ride, so it frequently has long lines like that. You're in the station, so close now. You can smell the sweat that's emanating from the coaster seats, and then you see it. Train stuck on the lift hill, followed by the, ladies and gentlemen, this ride is temporarily experiencing a delay, and yada, yada, yada. And then comes the battle within your own mind of, should I wait it out or leave to go do something else? The worst part here is that you know whichever you pick, it's going to be the wrong decision. But the one good thing about this is if you do decide to leave the line, there will always be someone who asks, did someone puke? And I'm not necessarily proud of this, but I say yes in row 3. Every single time. I don't know, I just can't help myself for some reason. And finally, number 1, getting hit with something. Whether it be a bug to the eye, a branch falling off a tree at the most inopportune moment, a goose at Busch Gardens, getting hit in the face with an object on roller coasters sucks. But you know what's somehow even worse? And this is my actual most hated thing about roller coasters? The fear of getting hit with something. And by that I mean some idiot sitting in front of you took out their cell phone so they could get a sick POV. It doesn't matter what coaster it is, I will immediately lose all enjoyment for the ride, and I'm now solely focusing on that pocket-sized missile that will surely rock me in the face. And you know the type. The rules certainly don't apply to me, people. It just drives me up a wall. The best case scenario here is one of the ride ops noticed they took it out, stops the ride, evacuates them off the train, and ejects them from the park. The second best scenario would be they drop the phone during the beginning of the ride, and it misses everybody. And now you can not only enjoy the rest of the ride, it becomes even better since the main character had just lost or broke their $1,000 TikTok toy. And then watching them cry to the ride operators once they get back to the station, it's the cherry on top. Well, thanks again for coming to my rant, folks. I really appreciate it. There were plenty of other things I could have added here, but wanted to keep the list of 10 for all of our sakes. Let me know what grinds your gears when it comes to roller coasters or theme parks in general in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Karen. I'll catch you next time. Peace.